Doctors couldn't stop crying when they realized how this baby was born. Nothing brings more joy to a family than the birth of a child. The new parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles are all filled with joy and excitement at the thought of welcoming the newest member of their family to the world. Having a baby or bringing a new life into this world is also an amazing and wonderful thing. Childbirth is one of life's most rewarding experiences, even if it comes with its share of obstacles. Every time a woman thinks back on the ordeal of giving birth and recalls how difficult it was, she feels a sense of accomplishment. Despite the fact that they rarely bring up those memories, they hold them in high regard and cherish their memories of them. If you have ever refused to abort your unborn child despite knowing that he or she is going to be born with a genetic abnormality in defiance of the advice of your doctor, then you understand more than most people what unconditional love is. Having a child with complicated health conditions involves lots of medical and hospital visits than one could ever imagine. As a result of interacting with other parents of children with disabilities or genetic abnormalities, the parents learn that it is possible to have a relatively normal life even if their children require frequent and particular care. Having kids, whether handicapped or not, often helps you stay grounded in a healthy and good way, so it's a wonderful thing. You also grow up in a manner that people without kids don't seem to. When you hit retirement age, your kids will be in their heyday and perhaps even starting a family of their own. At this moment in time, you'll feel like you're a constant companion to life, not like you're being left behind by the tide. Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story. Born with a tumor that was 1.5 times bigger than his body, he beat the odds and stayed alive after his parents refused to abort him. Lanai Shire and her husband Matt were thrilled when they discovered that they were expecting their second child, a new introduction to the family and a little brother to their son Wilder. However, the couple were soon offered the option to terminate the baby after a series of lab scans revealed that he would be born with a tumor that had grown 1.5 times bigger than him. The couple tried to identify a situation in the earlier weeks of Lanai's pregnancy that might have caused the tumor, but except for Lanai's severe morning sickness, which was quite frequent until the 18th week of her pregnancy, everything else was apparently normal. It was during their regular checkup scan, 20 weeks into the pregnancy, that the tumor was discovered. Lanai and Matt were told that a mass was growing from their baby's tailbone. Due to its rarity, doctors weren't sure what the lump was, but speculated that it might indicate spina bifida, a birth defect in the baby that occurs when the spine and the spinal cord do not develop completely. The doctors decided to conduct an extensive investigation into what the lump might actually be. 2 days later, Lanai and Matt were told that their baby had sacrococcygeal teratoma, or SCT, a type of tumor known as a teratoma that develops at the base of the coccyx, most commonly known as the tailbone. Lanai started to research the condition as the information from the doctors wasn't sufficient to answer her questions. She was immediately referred to a high-risk pregnancy team to be closely monitored for the remaining weeks of her pregnancy. As more and more ultrasound scans were conducted, it was determined that Lanai's baby had a type 2 tumor, which is mostly external but with a proportion inside the body, and it was already very large for 20 weeks. The couple were informed of the high probability of the baby being stillborn and therefore recommended termination of the baby. When a fetal MRI showed that the tumor hadn't affected any of the baby's vital organs and there was at least a chance for the baby to be born healthy, they decided to proceed with the pregnancy. In order to keep updated on the growth of the tumor, Lanai had to have at least 2 ultrasound scans per week. Everything seemed under control until the 26th week. It was discovered that the baby had developed anemia. This wasn't surprising to the doctors. They were rather expectant of such a situation. Though the tumor was outside, there were extensions of the baby's blood vessels in the bump, so it drained part of everything the baby was getting from her mother. At 28 weeks, the pair were referred to a specialist hospital in Adelaide to be even more closely monitored with 3 scans a week. On the 8th of July, Zelia, Lanai's daughter, was born via C-section. Unsurprisingly, the newborn weighed 0.99 kilograms, eclipsed by the tumor, which was 1.47 kilograms. Not long after her birth, about 3 days later, the minuscule baby underwent intensive 6-hour surgery in order to get rid of the tumor. During the process, she was revived several times and had 5 blood transfusions. After a successful operation, she was put in a neonatal intensive care unit, or NICU, for about 10 days. After 57 days in the specialist hospital, they were released and allowed to return home after another 5 months. Zelia's tumor was benign, so she didn't appear to have any protracted impairment to her organs, and she's already thriving, despite the fact that she can't walk or crawl yet. The doctors instructed us not to Google anything when they found the lump, so we didn't get frightened by false online articles. In spite of that, my husband and I resorted to the internet for more information on the plight of our baby, said Lanai. For those 2 days, all I could think was, did this happen because I didn't take my pregnancy vitamins every single day, or didn't eat healthy enough? I was so scared our baby wouldn't be able to walk, or she'd be in a lot of pain. Matt and I felt extremely sad when we got the diagnosis. Even the doctor who called us didn't have that much information. When we were in the room asking all the doctors by Skype how bad our SCT was, they did seem worried about how large it was, but they were happy it wasn't affecting any of her organs at that time. When we were offered termination, we both discussed that if she wouldn't be in pain during her life, we would continue with the pregnancy. When I did my own research, it was extremely difficult to get information on SCTs. I found out most of the basic things that the doctors had already informed us about. I found out that females get it more often than males, and the doctors would remove Zelia's coccyx bone to prevent the tumor from growing back. There are solid and cystic parts, and the outcome is worse the more solid the tumor is. 75% are benign, and only 12 are cancerous. Also, I tried to see if I could eat certain foods to shrink or stop the tumor from growing, Lanai said. I went on a diet to see if it would have any positive effect while keeping in mind that I needed certain things to help her health and mine. One of the things I started doing was drinking hot water with fresh lemon juice squeezed into it first thing in the morning. However, most of the information I found on helping shrink tumors I couldn't do because you shouldn't eat them while pregnant or not in a large amount. Anyway, I felt like I needed to do everything in my power to not let the tumor grow any bigger. I definitely felt a bit depressed about it. You want to be healthy and have your baby grow big and healthy too, but I didn't want this other thing inside me to grow. Something that helped me the most was connecting with other women who were pregnant or had already had their SCT babies. They answered so many questions and helped me learn what to expect when I did have her. Also, the other thing I found extremely interesting in my research was that some doctors have the theory that the tumor is a twin that never formed. I feel this may make sense because my mom is a twin and my husband's dad is a twin, Lanai said. She cried when she held Zelia for the first time. I was just in shock at how small she was and that the SCT was larger than her, she said. Seeing it in person just made it so real. It was so good to see her, but I was also absolutely terrified because we knew she'd be going into surgery. We were just hoping for the best outcome in the end, and that we'd be back to see our baby alive. Zelia had her coccyx bone removed in order to prevent the tumor from returning, and she is being closely observed with frequent blood tests to ensure that the tumor does not reappear. According to specialists, as long as she's under 5, she stands a higher chance of developing the tumor yet again. Lanai shared what it was like to bring Zelia back to Darwin for the first time and shared her words of advice to other parents. Zelia is now happy at home with her family, and Lanai says that after being in the hospital for so long, having her daughter home for the first time was such a big deal. Coming home was such a big deal, said Lanai. Zelia had been in the hospital for so long, and finally, all of us would be together as a family in our own home with our cat and dog. I feel like, even though Zelia was already 5 months old when she came home, it wasn't until then that she started her life at that moment. We were finally bringing our newborn baby home, she said. Sharing her advice with other parents, she went on, I just want her to be a happy and healthy baby someday. I hope she'll be able to connect with other survivors. I've actually had several women get hold of me asking about my daughter's story, saying they're pregnant and then their baby's been diagnosed with an SCT. I want others to take away from our story that hope is so important and that they're not alone. Make sure you ask many questions and research as much as you can. Even though her tumor is really rare, I managed to find others going through the exact same thing as us through social media. I know some people are afraid or overwhelmed when they find out something terrifying, especially when it comes to their kids. Because parents just want the best for their children, don't be afraid to ask questions, push for answers, and get second opinions, and I think that comes back to hope, and the more hope you can have. I know exactly what they're going through, so I'm always willing to share her story. It has also helped me heal by sharing it, and I've made connections with others who were and have gone through the same thing. If you enjoyed the video, kindly give it a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section, and share with others. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.